at my face.
No, I'm just getting the...
This is so cool. We've never done this.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? You guys excited to be here for Drug Week? Pretty cool movie trailer that we got taken care of there. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, my name's Tim. I'm one of the leaders here at the youth group. So I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys in a real cool way, just about my story, and it's going to be fun. So let's do some drugs. But pretty much, my story starts out. Went to a private Christian high school, not very big. There's about 35 people in my graduating class. So for those of you that go to bigger schools that have a couple thousand, kind of get a perspective of the school environment there. But when I was growing up in high school, it was a little bit different for me. There wasn't as much accessibility to any kind of drugs or alcohol or things that you guys probably deal with on a daily basis. So for me, I guess I was pretty sheltered for a while throughout high school. Just didn't have any really knowledge of kind of the real world pressures that most of you guys, I know you guys face on a daily basis. But so for me, my struggle, getting into the drugs and everything really began my summer year before I became a senior in high school. Really up until that point, hadn't really dealt with anything in that realm, but when I was going into my senior year, I had a few friends that I made that were in college, which just opened me up to a whole new world of accessibility to pretty much anything and everything. So it really just began for me there. Started off smoking pot every now and then, just friends hanging out, going to different parties, sneaking out of my parents' house, getting a ride with my friends just to different places around town, just to kind of get involved in a little bit of anything and everything that goes on at your typical college house party, I guess. But it wasn't really a daily thing or anything like that. Throughout most of high school, it's just every now and then kind of deal. Parents didn't know, teachers didn't know. I was functioning pretty normally, going to school, getting off with grades, but that didn't really have anything to do with my struggle. I just never paid attention in school. But the battle for me really kind of took a big turn for the worst my freshman year of college. It's in a new environment. Wasn't living at home. Still was out, around my parents' house and stuff, but was never home, just kind of going out and doing the college party thing. It was then that I met a few people that just got access to pretty much whatever I wanted. And so there was a point where I was high every day in college. Just go to class, get out of one class, go smoke a bowl or two, and then go back to class and just go through my days like that. Pretty much for a whole year, all day, every day. Before work, on breaks at work, pretty much everywhere, which didn't really help my work performance. But that's just kind of where I was at. Really, my biggest struggle was with pot, just being the everyday thing, but just being involved in that lifestyle, seeing people who, just being involved in that culture of just doing drugs and getting high and all that kind of stuff led to some other instances. I did do coke for a while, got into that, and all this stuff mixed with excessive drinking, just that whole lifestyle. Most of this stuff that happened was in about a year and a half span, where it was mainly a daily thing, and then I had a real big breakthrough in my life one night. Got off work, was hanging out with a bunch of my friends, and I was supposed to meet a bunch of my really good best friends from my Christian high school for, we're gonna go out to dinner and then do bowling and all this stuff. And totally just blew them off for my other set of friends, and spent all night getting really, really drunk and really high, and snorting coke, and then to the point at which all the people that I was supposed to be hanging out with, I didn't keep in contact with them that night, and so they all thought I was dead somewhere, and they were about to call the cops to find out where I was because they were trying to call me and I wasn't answering my phone. And my parents found out that I was MIA all night. I didn't show up until about 3 o'clock in the morning. All my friends were still there waiting for me, kind of like a "this isn't okay, dude" sort of situation. Kind of real rubber meets the road reality of the way that I was living, as opposed to just a real sign of the face reality of trying to find out who I was and where I wanted to go. And that's kind of where my story changed, and I slowly started going back to church, and not everything in my life was cleaned up by that point. I mean, I was still going out and getting high every now and then, but it's really when God really spoke into my life in a very dramatic way that night. And really, that's when my story kind of made a turn and led me to the direction of where I am today. It's a good place. But anyway, I kind of tell you that story to kind of go back and elaborate a little bit on my experiences, because when I was going out and doing all these things, I didn't know that there was any underlying cause or reason that I felt like I was pursuing in pursuing drug use and just different things like that. A lot of times it just felt like going out and getting high with friends because that's what people did when they were that age. But really looking back on my life within the last few years and kind of looking at the underlying reasons of really why I got into that lifestyle in the first place, just brought a sharp focus on these deep-seated wounds and hurts that I had in my life, and everything that I did was pretty much a result of these underlying issues in my life that brought about kind of the reason why I did everything. Brought up in a very good Christian home. My dad's a pastor. I have 3 brothers and 4 younger sisters. My 3 brothers are right under me, and they're all really good kids. Never had struggles with drugs or girls or anything like that, and totally pretty much the opposite of who I am. And really followed in my dad's footsteps. We're very good at sports. We're very good at all the things that my dad was. Just kind of, you'd look at him and see him as the ideal sons and the ideal family. And I didn't really notice it at the time, but what that did to me is being a little bit different from them and not being as good at sports and not really liking the things that they did. Really just developed a lot of hurt and pain in my life because I felt like I could never measure up to really the expectations of my dad. Him being a pastor, I never knew how to go to him and talk to him if I had an issue or if I was struggling with something, because I just figured I knew exactly what he was going to tell me, and he was going to just give me a Bible verse, and that's not really what I needed from him. So really just got tired of trying to live up to my parents' expectations, and really stopped trying to perform for them, and really just formed a very rebellious spirit. If my parents told me to go do this, I would make it a point to do the exact opposite in every situation that I could, or not just with my parents, but with any kind of authority, whether it was the government or just people in school. If I was told that, I should probably study for 2 hours for this test, I would make it a point to study like 10 minutes, and just stupid stuff that seems really dumb now, but it's just I didn't want to perform or conform to what anybody was telling me to do. That just, made a perfect excuse and a reason for me to get involved in drugs and that whole scene, because what it was for me all those years was a way to escape reality and really mask this deep pain that I was feeling in my life, which is kind of weird because I was very, very popular. I was the high school prom king, my senior year, very well liked, everybody in the school. Had a ton of friends that knew me and liked me, and I was kind of the center of attention. I don't mean to say that to be vain or whatever, but I really was one of the most popular people in school. Had a lot of friends that knew me, that liked me for who I was, and really just let them kind of form and shape my identity, whatever they wanted me to be. As long as it was different than what my parents wanted me to be, I would take that and run with it to the fullest extent. And that just led into a whole bunch of things with drug abuse and addiction, because I didn't really like who I was as a person. I was very likable and well liked by everybody else, but looking back, I really didn't like myself at all. I felt like I was broken and just really like a really messed up kid. I just had like a vision of myself as being broken, and if that I just wasn't worth anything. Where I just had a very low image of who I was because I had no idea who I was. And so when I got involved in that style of addiction and that kind of living, it was just a perfect way for me to not face the way I felt inside and really just escape from reality, to the point where when I was going out and hanging out with friends, like, to be honest, I didn't really care if what I was doing was going to kill me. It was just whatever, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and if I die, I die, and I didn't really care. It just was a very hard and interesting place to be, and kind of just looking back on it a few years later, realizing that the stuff I was doing, even though I knew it was killing me and it was getting to the point of where I had people and friends around me that were dying from overdosing and things like that, but it didn't deter me at all from pursuing that lifestyle, because like I said, I was like, okay, if I die, I die. I know it's part of the lifestyle, but it didn't really affect me. I mean, I had a uncle who died at like 35 from drug addiction and an overdose. I had a very good friend in high school who went on to form a band, and their bass player, 21 years old. They just released a major CD. They were just getting radio play, becoming like a big, they were going to be like a big name band. They just got signed. They were putting out their CD one day, having a CD release party. It should have been like the happiest day of their lives. As you know, 21-year-old kids kind of living the rock star dream. And that day, that morning, they went to go wake up their bass player to go to a CD release party and meet with their label people, get signed, and go places. But their bass player, who I knew and had a friendship with, had OD'd on heroin. 21 years old, he's dead. And just really kind of started to open my eyes to the lifestyle that these people were living, people that I idolized, and really idolized, you know, the rock star way of living. And it just, in my mind, that was the best way to live, because they weren't conforming to anybody and they were just living free, and just had this warped sense of the freedom that drugs and addiction bring. And just glad that I got to that point in my life where I was able to see these things a little bit more clearly and actually just come to a place of freedom and a new identity in Christ was a huge step. It's just a little bit of my story that I want to share with you guys.
Thank you. Mine might not be quite that interesting, but I'll try to follow. If you guys don't know me, I know a few of you, but my name is Jamie Overman. I am Taylor's sister-in-law. They actually married me and my husband Chad. But I come from a background with completely Christian, brought home. I mean, I have an incredible family. I love to death that, you know, from the beginning taught me the correct things and taught me the way and taught me just what real life is and how to experience life to the fullest. And life was always really charmed for a lot of my life. And when I got to high school, I went to Judson. I don't know if any of you guys are Judson. I know the whole alma mater, it's really embarrassing. But I went to Judson, and I loved that school, but I definitely didn't choose the right friends when I went there. Surrounded myself with completely non-Christian friends, and it was a time in my life where, you know, I had done the Christian thing for so long, and I've always known God. I mean, ever since I was forever. I can't even remember a time where I don't feel like God has been an integral part of who I am, and He just feels like a part of me, and it always has. And, you know, I don't know, I was just ready to kind of see a little bit what else the world had to offer. So I just got some friends who were definitely not the best role models for me. And the funny thing is, I love my friends dearly, but I did not envy their lives at all. I mean, I had 3 really, really close girlfriends. That was our clique, and one of them, her dad was a wreck. He was smoking pot, drinking all the time. Her mom was sleeping around with everyone. I mean, it was always uncomfortable going over there because, it was always like some outrage at my friend, like from her dad, or it was just always weird. And I was always so grateful for my family because I had such a good home to go home to and incredible siblings who I actually like. And I had another friend whose parents were divorced, and she just had, also a terrible family life. Actually, all 3 of them had a terrible family life. None of them were happy at home. They loved being out. They loved going, and doing whatever. And the only part of their lives I did envy was, how much fun they had. They went out on the weekends, and gosh, did they have fun. They would, smoke weed, drink, whatever, just have a good time. And I would look at them and be like, man, I know I'm not supposed to do that stuff, but man, it looks like so much fun. And I would consider, maybe I should try it. Let's just, just for a little bit, see what happens. And there was a verse that I had to share with you guys because it always haunted me when I would think about, trying stuff out. And it's from Luke, and I wanted to read it. It's Luke 12:47 and 48. It says, "And that servant who knew his master's will and did not prepare himself or do according to his will shall be beaten with many stripes. He who did not know, yet committed things deserving of stripes, shall be beaten with few. For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required, and to whom much has been committed, of him they will ask more." So basically what this verse says is, so since your friends don't know the truth and they're doing whatever they want, they're not going to be punished for it that much. But because you know the truth and you were born in a Christian home, if you go and do that stuff, you're going to be beaten with many stripes. So that verse always haunted me, and I'm like, gosh, I'd get so frustrated. I was like, man, why didn't I just not be born in a Christian home so I could have fun, do my teen years, do my thing, and then meet God? God, that would have been the perfect life. I wish I had that life. Then I could have reasons to be angry, to do all that stuff. It would just be perfect. I would love that. That's what I wanted so badly. And, another thing that I would always think of is, okay, well, I only have a short amount of time to experience what life has to offer because, well, first of all, before I'm 18, they can't send me to prison. I mean, say I really go crazy and I fall in love with all this bad stuff, well, they'll send me to juvie and then I'll get my act together. So before 18, I've got to get it out of the way. And another line that I used to listen to was, I used to go to youth group and people would come and talk about how they had these horrible lives and they came from prison and they did all these drugs, and I'm like, man, and now they're on fire for the Lord, and I'm like, man, their testimonies are so awesome. Like, my testimony is nothing right now. All it is a Christian girl who grew up and went to church and grew up, is what my mindset was. And so I was thinking, man, I could have an awesome testimony because first of all, I know that I'm going to follow the Lord. He's a part of me. He's in me. I look at my family, and I know that that's what I want for my family because I have a great home life. I love my life, and everyone around me who isn't a Christian, they have a terrible life. So I know that this is what I want in the end. And, I want to be a mom. I want to be a good wife, and a good wife and a good mom isn't going to be out going and doing drugs. So, man, I got to get on this drug thing. I got to experience it because I know later on it's not going to be what I want. So it was kind of a now or never kind of thing, If I'm really going to experience all that life has to offer, I've got to try stuff now. I've got to get into it now. So, I started joining in with my friends, just smoking weed, drinking at parties and stuff. And man, you guys, I'm here to tell you, it wasn't worth it at all. I started lying to my family. I felt so jaded too. I mean, when you have secrets that you don't tell people that you love so much, it just makes you kind of dark. You feel dark, and I went further sexually than I ever would have otherwise. I started getting really depressed. This was over a span of 6 months of smoking weed. Progressively, I guess it seems like the common trend, but you start doing it now, and then more and more and more and more and more, and I started getting really depressed. I started having panic attacks at work. Like I was a server, and I would just start having these insane panic attacks, and I just start, it was just intense emotion just coming over me all the time. I ruined my reputation with my little brother. I started letting him smoke with me. He was like 13 at the time, and my relationship with God was a joke at that point. I mean, I knew very full well that I was turning my back from him at that time, and it was just something that I felt like he was going to have to put up with. You know, this is my choice. I'm going to be selfish right now, and God, I'm going to come back to you. So, you know, I just tried to bury myself in lies as much as I could to not think about God and not think about, you know, what this might be having effect on later. More than anything, I mean, honestly, I heard other people talking about, oh, I became depressed, I had all this bad stuff. None of that was a good enough reason for me to not try it. I mean, it was like, man, I want to try this. It's experiencing life, right? It's something that if you don't do, you're never going to, you know, have that piece of whatever, I don't know. But it wasn't a good enough reason for me. And what I want to tell you guys is you're missing out when you do. I really feel like, gosh, I missed out so much during that time. Those friends that I had, I may have saved a life if I was a witness at that time, and I just wasn't. I blew my reputation with them. You guys have a cloud of witnesses around you all the time, and at every time of your life, no matter how old you are, and you really have a purpose. God has a calling on each and every one of your lives, and there's a reason that you are where you are, where you were born, what school you go to, and there's a reason that you are here tonight and that you're hearing this stuff. And unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, but now you guys are included with me in this verse. You do know, you know that there is a better way, and I just really feel like I'm not going to say don't do drugs because it's illegal. I mean, so is rolling through a stop sign, and I still do that sometimes. So I can't really say don't do it because it's not illegal, but I'm saying don't do drugs because you're missing out on a better time that God has for you. And Jesus came so that we could have life and life to the fullest. And, you know, you guys are going to have life to the fullest if you stay with him and ask him daily, what is your plan for me today? What does the most full life look like for me today? Because when you are walking daily with the Lord, you will never feel more fulfilled and more like you have the most abundant life in the world. And you know what? I was right about me. I knew that I was going to come back, and I did come back, and gosh, I wish that I had never walked away because now I am fulfilled. I do have a beautiful son and a husband, and I am fulfilled, and I love the Lord, and I wish that I could have that time back and to have a good testimony, which a better testimony would have been to show that the Lord can give you an abundant life without straying, and that he is enough because he is. So don't feel like, if you haven't, don't feel like that you're missing out on anything because you're absolutely not. God has the best plan, and I think that we can all say we all want the best for ourselves. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Tam and Jamie. What we're going to do now is we're going to just play one song, and what I want to ask you guys to do is to just kind of be reflective in this time. You should each have a sheet of paper and something to write on. And as you're listening to this song, there's a couple of questions that Tam and Jamie wanted you guys to reflect on and to think about. And I really just want to ask you guys to just try to really look inside this time. Look inside yourself and ask some of those big questions. The other thing I want to let you know is that all night tonight, we have our prayer room. And if you haven't been in there, it's like the most peaceful place on planet Earth. And if you just want to go in there and just kind of sit on one of the cushions or write out a prayer, you can do that. But there's also people in there that are praying for you right now. And if you just want somebody to pray over you for courage or strength or whatever, you can go ask them, and they'd be happy to do that. And so I just want to let you know that at any time tonight, you can go back there. I'm going to open up this time with a prayer. We'll have one song, and then we'll continue with our great night juggling. So you bow your heads with me. Father, so blessed just to know these people up here on stage, and I just pray that your Holy Spirit would speak through the smoke into our life, and that we would just begin to see ourselves as we really should, to see the people around us as you see them. And God, I pray that no one here would feel judged by you, but that every single person in this room would feel deeply loved by you, because you want the best for every one of us. And I just pray that you would forgive me for the times that I reject you and seek the best for myself. And just pray that all of us would be willing to just believe that you are for us, God. You are for me. And you're on my team. You want me to succeed and have the fullest joy possible. And I just pray that every person here would just give their life to you tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
So faithful, so constant, so loving and so true, so powerful in all you do. You fill me, you see me, you know my every move, and you love for me to sing to you. I know that you are for me. I know that you are for me. I know that you will never forsake me in my weakness. And I know that you have come now, even if to ride upon my heart, to remind me who you are. So patient, so gracious, so merciful and true, so wonderful in all you do. You fill me, and you see me, you know my every move, and you love for me to sing to you. Lord, I know that you are for me. I know that you are for me. I know that you will never forsake me in my weakness. And I know that you have come now, even if to ride upon my heart, to remind me that I know that you are for me. I know that you are for me. And I know that you will never forsake me in my weakness. And I know that you have come now, even if to ride upon my heart, to remind me who you are. To remind me. I know that you are for me. I know that you are for me. I know that you will never forsake me in my weakness. And I know that you have come now, even if to ride upon my heart, to remind me who you
Good evening. I'm Daryl Huff. Some of y'all might know my wife, Dawn. Maybe my 8-year-old daughter, Hayden. First of all, I'd like to thank Taylor for inviting us all up here to be speakers this evening. You know, my story is a great story, and all of our stories are a great story of salvation and how awesome the God that we serve is. My story started out, I'm 33, and I've almost spent a third of my life addicted to drugs. And I've spent the last third of it clean, so do the math. Basically, when I was about 11, 12 years old, I took my first drink, and it wasn't just to taste, it was to get drunk. I fell in love with getting high and escaping. I don't really understand, even to this day, or know why or what I was trying to escape. I just know I wanted to be different from everybody else. I also felt unbeatable. I didn't feel vulnerable. I started out as a pretty shy kid, I guess. I used to walk around looking down at the ground, and on drugs I could lift my head up. I started, of course, drinking probably about age 13, 7th grade. I started to smoke weed. Did that for a few years. I got into high school, tried acid. Got out of high school, went into college, and really that's where it just went downhill. I tried anything and everything I could get my hands on. First thing was coke. That was my drug of choice. Speed. I liked to move fast. Just be in a state of just absolute craziness. And after coke, I tried methamphetamines. It was a faster, more longer-lasting high. And after that, didn't really care about college anymore. Dropped out. The friends that I was with started experimenting with heroin. I always said, hey, I'd try anything once. It took me a while, but I was the only one out of my group of friends that had a vehicle. And so I cruised us to parties. We always were the party hoppers. One party would die, we'd hop over to the other, and we'd always end up at my house. I'd always see them like kind of escape off into a bathroom somewhere. Knew exactly what they were doing. And I got it in my head one night. I was pretty drunk and decided to go check it out. And one of those guys was probably one of the best drummers I've ever seen. He was 16 years old and had been playing with a lot of different local bands. They would ask him to come out and just play if their drummer wasn't available. And he looked up at me and he said, man, you don't want to do this. You know, just go back out, man. You don't want to look at me, man. I can't even stop. Just walk away. And I said, no, man. You know, I'll try anything once. It's all right. Did it, and I'll explain to you just briefly what the different types of heroin addicts are. There's one person who they try heroin, they absolutely hate it, makes them sick, and they never do it again. Most people fall in love with it, consider it better than sex, and most of those people don't ever make it out. I was one of the people that was in between. I could take it or leave it. Sometimes it made me sick, sometimes it didn't. And of course, there's different ways of doing heroin, but most people use it IV, which I did. And since I didn't really like it that much, my friends said, hey, you know, you can do coke that way too. And like I told y'all, coke was my drug of choice. And when they told me that, and it was all over, I probably spent a good 4 or 5 years just completely lost. Just homeless pretty much, just living off of different friends here and there. I had a good friend of mine that had taken that route few years before me, and he spent a good 2 hours trying to talk me down when I was actually not high, and just was like, dude, you know, I've been there, you know I've been there. It's not a life you want to continue living. And I mean, you know how sick you feel sometimes of just being in dirt and dirty places and with dirty people. He was like, you know, you're going to feel like that every single time and it's never going to end. He was like, just, you got to stop. And he spent 2 hours trying to talk me down. And I finally just had to tell him, you know, look, man, I love you. You're like a brother to me, man, but I don't want to hear this. I'm not ready for this. I like what I'm doing. I enjoy it. I'm going to just do whatever I want to do. I don't care. And it's unfortunate because this was after I found Christ, and I got locked up for 8 months. And the weekend that I got locked up, he died in a car accident. And the last conversation I had with him was telling him, leave me alone. No, I don't want to talk to you. I love you, but you got to go. That was probably the hardest thing I had to deal with. And it hurts sometimes just to bring it up and talk about it, because you don't want to tell, you know, you don't want that to be your last memory of somebody that you care about. And the other group of friends of mine that were also his friend they tried to call me up. Of course, I was locked up, but they got my dad. And so not only did they lose a friend in a car accident, they lost the brother they needed to be there during his funeral. They had to wait 8 months for me to get out of jail for us to put closure on his death. It's pretty sad. Anyways, basically to the story of my salvation and how I came to Christ. My father was a Southern Baptist. If you know anything about Southern Baptists, they like to throw the book at you. Bible thumpers. And so that was too pushy for me, and I didn't want to have anything to do with Christianity. I searched everywhere else possible, a lot of different religions, but nothing ever satisfied me. And there was a couple days that I had been clean, and I was on my way to work, struggling with the decision to go get high. I really wanted to go get high really bad, and continuing on to work. And right there in the car to myself, I said out loud, God help me. And let me tell you, you don't need a really long prayer to be saved. Those 3 words right there are everything. That's saying that you're admitting that you can't do it alone, that you need God's help, and that there is a God. And that's it. That's all you need, and Christ comes into your life. And I tell you, when he came right there, I had tears of joy running down my face, and I just felt this complete burden and weight lifted off of me. But I'm not going to tell you that if you haven't made that decision yet, that it gets easy. Some people, if they come to him like the way I did, they might never touch the stuff again. But I'll tell you the truth of the matter is most people are going to continue down that road, and it's going to be a long, hard road for God to pull you out of, especially the longer you spend in that addiction. I spent probably a good 1.5 years, 2 more years addicted, but it was never the same. And I always felt God's presence. And the friends of mine that I'm still good friends with, that we lost that friend in the car accident, I still talk to them from time to time. And we're all married and have kids now, but they pulled tough love on me one time. And one of the things that if you spend any length of time in any particular drug, like for instance coke, most people get really high and talk really fast. If you do it for a really long time, it has the opposite effect. I would sit there and just be off in a daze, and my friends would be talking to me and finally realize, oh man, you're on that stuff again. And I hate it when you're on that stuff. And this was one of those days. And this guy went off and got the rest of my friends. And they all came over and said, we're taking you out. And we're not taking no for an answer. And so they took me out. But they also let me know that this is the last time we're going out because we can't be with you like this, man. And we love you and we just want you to know that, and we support you, and we want, we're here for you. And that was definitely life-changing too. Basically, I spent my 21st birthday locked up in a lockdown rehab for 8 months. And that's no way you want to spend your 21st birthday. Of course, you don't want to spend it getting drunk either, but I know that's probably what most of y'all are looking forward to when you turn 21, is being able to drink. But, drinking's okay. I mean, Jesus, he drank wine with his disciples at the Last Supper, but it's a whole other thing to just do it to get drunk. And that's pretty much my story. I know that God is so powerful, you guys. Most people do not make it off drugs. And that's just, if that's anything you take away from here tonight, it's just don't open that box, guys, because you may not ever get to close it.
How's it going, y'all? That's a good response. Y'all settle down. Crazy kids. My name is Luke Hernandez, and some of y'all know me, some of y'all don't, but my story's not too long. I'm just going to wing it. But I grew up pretty much in a Christian home, Christian background and everything like that, so I had great, loving parents. It's just one of those things, you're raised a Christian, but you're told what to believe, So as I got older, I wanted to experience things for myself, First time I really drank, I went to a friend's house, and he was just daring me to do like 4 shots of alcohol, some whiskey, and I was like, yeah, no problem. And then once I got that, man, it was just a downward spiral. I just liked that tipsy feeling, and then I just found myself from that point on hanging around the wrong kind of people, always just in the wrong situation. I remember I was in middle school. I don't know how old I was, maybe like 13 or 14 years old. My ex-girlfriend, she overdosed on cocaine. What middle schoolers been, It's not like it was a one-time thing, She had been doing it a while, but it's pretty sick, Told myself I was never going to get wrapped up in any of that kind of stuff. So, of course, kept hanging around the wrong people. I always had Jesus in the back of my mind, but I always did things my way, So, started smoking, started drinking really heavily. Eventually, my whole life revolves around music, so eventually I picked up a gig where I was touring with some national acts. We're doing world tours. We're touring with Korn and Flyleaf and like all these other bands, So that was just a whole bunch of bad news, Every night is a party. Every night. And how are you going to say no to people you looked up to your entire life, like members of Korn? You're just like, hey dude, come have a drink with me. Hey dude, come do some drugs with me. It's just like, yeah, why not? Sure. So, it was my dream to be where those guys were, and I was really wrapped up in the lifestyle and everything like that. But it really didn't occur to me, the reality of it, and the other side of it, because there was this one band, we were touring in England, and this band I looked up to my entire life. This guy was just dude, he was top dog, you know? I love this guy. And we were all excited to tour with his band. But when we got into rehearsals, I just remember seeing him, and he was just looked like a skeleton. He's been on heroin for so long. And I remember one show we did in Liverpool, you know, I'm a diabetic, so, you know, I have insulin and needles with me and everything like that. And I remember waking up the next morning and all my needles were gone, you know, he'd stolen them. And I stayed up with him because I know he went into the bathroom that night and he was just on like so many different drugs, so many, it was ridiculous. So I remember telling myself, like, you know, I was totally wasted too, but not as bad as him. But I just told myself, I was like, all right, well, I'll stay up with this guy, make sure he doesn't OD or anything stupid, you know. So we stayed up all night, and then whenever it was like 7 in the morning, we tried crashing out, just laying down on the floor. Everyone was just sprawled out everywhere. But I remember just looking at him, and I was like, dude, that's my hero. Like I'm laying down next to my hero, and then I noticed he couldn't hold still. You know, he was just fidgety back and forth. He could not hold still. And then he just eventually just got up and walked out into the garden, and I just followed him. And I was like, "What's up, Cameron?" And he's like, "I got to go back to the bus. I need another fix." So I was like, "All right, well, everyone's asleep, and I'm not going to let you walk around or, you know, just wander around England by yourself." So I went back with him, and I was just looking at him like, dude, this is my hero. And it just kept sinking in. Like, first it was like, dude, yeah, that's Cameron, you know, hanging out with my hero. And then, like, when we were in the taxi together going back to the tour bus, I just looked at him, and he could not hold still. Like, he was sitting, you know, just on the seat. And by the time we got to the bus, he was curled up, like in a fetal position, on the taxi floor. And then when we got to the bus, I was just like, dude, it's so awesome hanging with you and everything like that. And he just looked at me and was just like, he's like, don't ever be like me, man. I'm ridiculous. So, I mean, just slowly but surely, things just started sinking in, realizing, like, is this what I really want? I mean, I all my life, I just wanted to tour the world and play music. And here I am touring with some of my favorite bands. And this is the reality of it. You know, it's just really disgusting. But of course, I didn't really wake up just then. I was just, you know, starting to realize things slowly but surely. I eventually laid off the heavy stuff, and it was just mostly binge drinking for me all the time. Like, it's crazy, man. And I can pull out tour DVDs where you just look at me and you're just like, everyone's just annihilated, laying down, everyone's puking. You know, it's just, looking back, it's like, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so mostly it was just binge drinking, but just seeing where that took me, man, it was just a dark place. I got married at the age of 22, and it was just a bad relationship. You know, we married for the wrong reasons, but we let, you know, alcohol and drugs run our lives, run our marriage. And, you know, I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of to her, and she did a lot of things to me, you know, like, it got physical, it got abusive. And looking back when I was a kid, like, I gotta ask myself, like, is that where I really wanted to be? You know, like 22 years old and married, you know, like abusing my wife, like physically, mentally, being an angry person all the time. Like, you gotta watch out, man. If you were to do me wrong, I would come after you. You know, me and my group, we would always have some kind of protection with us, like weapons and stuff like that. So I never thought I'd get to that point just because I got wrapped up in so much. It's just hard to, I mean, you can't step back and actually evaluate your life until you're actually completely out of it. So, my story of salvation, I had found out that my wife was having an affair, and for some reason I was just more terrified than normal, and I was just, for some reason, I don't know why, I just went outside the apartment and I just got down on my knees. And like I said, I was raised in a Christian home, so I just got down on my knees and I was just praying like, God, please make this work. I'm tired of living my life my way. Everything I do is not working out. I'm not happy with who I am today. So if you're out there, I'm done. Give you my life. Tired of living it my way. Try it your way. And like Daryl was saying, like I just cried out at that point. And I don't know what it was. Like I said, if you do me wrong, you better watch out. And it was the alcohol and all the influence of the substances that was just in my body, like just making me an ugly person. I don't know what it was, but after I had prayed, I just went in and I got her to confess that she was, in fact, having an affair. I heard it from her mouth. And I don't know what happened, but it was just a calming sensation once she told me. Like, I just looked at her and I'm like, that's cool. I forgive you. I forgive him. Let's just make this work. But God works in mysterious ways, man. He'll go as far as he can to bring you back to him. And for the man who hasn't suffered, what does he know? So, I prayed for God to heal my marriage, but he didn't. I got divorced. It was such a rough time for me. But instead of seeing it as a way just to get wasted and forget about things, I tried something different. I tried seeing it as an opportunity, a door opening for me to just change my life. And that's what I did. So I started thinking of it as maybe God wants me to just cut away from everything in my life, just so it can be me and him one-on-one. And from then on, I'm not saying it got easier, but I do have somewhere to look during the storms. I still feel the urge to go out and do the things that that ruined me. I still have that urge, but I look back. Now that I'm able to look back and look at who I was, and I'm just saying why go back to that? I was just talking to Tim. I was just like, it's crazy just to be able to look where you were, like, I don't know how many years ago when your life was just a wreck, and then look at what he's done for all of us up here, And I'm sure y'all are going to have run-ins with drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. I'm not expecting us up here to convince you not to do it. Some of y'all will, some of y'all have, some of y'all are. But if y'all did, we all have a choice to say no. And I advise you just to skip the drama, skip the heartache, skip it all. And I advise you just to leave it. If you have and just said no, that's awesome, good for you. And if you haven't, I pray for you that you can use it as an experience in the future, But I'm so thankful for the way God has changed my life, things that I've seen in life, To be able to finally come to God, I needed to hit the bottom of the barrel. So I really believe, no matter what situation you're in, God can bring good out of it. And I praise his name every day for the things he's done for me. But and I want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to all of us. My prayers are with y'all, and cheers.
Thank you guys all so much. So it's such an awesome thing just to see you all up here. We're gonna pause and take another time of reflection and just listen to a couple songs of this. This first song is actually by my brother-in-law Jamie's husband, and it's called "The Solitude." And it's a song about being in that place where you just feel like maybe everybody's given up on you and God's given up on you. And okay. You know, I know that he was at that place when he wrote it, and I think it'd be a good song for us to reflect on. And then we're going to finish off with a song that's just about being in love with Jesus. Because at the end of the day, and at the end of your life, and at the end of the world, there is no high, there's no experience you can have that comes close to an intimate relationship with your Savior. And that's really the story here. Is that every other high is going to bring you down, except for just pursuing God and just allowing yourself to be loved by your Savior who loves you more than anyone that you'll ever know. So let's just take another pause. We're going to reflect on these questions that Luke and Daryl have put out for you, and just be praying for you. The prayer room's open. Go ahead, John.
Though I'm weak, they all think I'm strong. Well, my friends, I'm afraid you're wrong. I'm a mess underneath it all. I do my best and the rest just falls. Pull me out of this doubt I parade. Have I scared all my hope away? Hanging high just to hide what's lost. In disguise on my cornfield cross. The solitude is killing me inside. I know it's killing you. A drop of red for every little thing I do that separates the side of me that lives in you. And you're bleeding all the time, and still you never give up on. You never give up on us now. Lift me higher than these fires I've made. I never thought I could burn this way. Just a man, just a straw-filled man, with a match in my straw-filled hand. The solitude is killing me inside. I know it's killing you. A drop of red for every little thing I do that separates the side of me that lives in you. And you're bleeding all the time, and still you never give up on us. You never give up on us. Come lift me Just a man, just a straw-filled man, with a match in my straw-filled hand.
What we're gonna do now is we still got like boatloads of sweet tea and unsweet tea. Does anyone know why unsweet tea exists? Does anyone actually know the answer to that question? Because I don't.
Same reason black coffee does.
Okay. Right. But anyway, what we're gonna do for this next period of time is I want you guys to feel comfortable. If you need to go, it's about 1 minute till 8, so you can go ahead and go if you have a ride or something like that. But grab some sweet tea. Eat the rest of the cookies. What we're going to do is we're just going to have an open discussion. And so we've got these couches here, and we've got these awesome people that would just love to talk to you about anything. And what I'm going to do is just kind of open it up. If you guys have any questions at all that you just kind of want to throw out and give them a chance to share from their experiences, or maybe just a question that you have in your mind about drugs, then we want to give you the chance to ask it. So that's what we're going to do now for the next 15, 20 minutes is just kind of open it up. You got a question, then just kind of throw your hand up, and I'll come to you and let you ask it on the mic. And then they give these guys a chance to just talk for about 2 minutes on that question. And then I have CDs for the first 2 people to ask questions. So, anybody got a question? One of them is The Afters. Light Up the Sky, The Afters. And then the other one is Matthew West, The Story of Your Life. It's a good CD. So grown-ups can ask questions too. Okay, first 2 people to ask. I think I saw your hand go up first. You want The Afters or Matthew West? The Afters? Okay, you go ahead and have this one. Okay, just say your name and then just kind of, what's your question?
My name is Joseph. And I was wondering, what was your Cameron, what band was he in?
American Hedgehog. They're not that well known, but they were produced by Clown from Slipknot.
It's a great question.
My name's Ashley Knoxman. I just kind of want to know, how do you know what God's plan is for you? You said to ask daily, but how do you know what He's really going to say?
Anybody want to hit that for 2 minutes? All right.
Well, like Luke over here, I really sought after, I wanted to be a rock star. But you know what? God didn't want that for my life. I know that if I had, I wouldn't be here sitting with y'all right now. Money would have just given me the ample opportunity to do whatever I wanted to. But I will say this, that God uses everything to His glory. All negative, all good, doesn't matter, it's all to His glory. And that's why I don't regret, and don't take this the wrong way, but I don't regret that life, because it's what brought me to Christ, and it's also the reason why I moved to San Antonio and met my wife and have my 3 beautiful children. But what I want you to take from that is that God uses that to His glory. He took all that negative and brought me here to be able to minister and have the opportunity to speak to people who have, before going down the road I have, and who have also come from that path. So, but yeah, definitely just stay in constant prayer, and God will answer that.
Just to add as well to him, I think a way that God speaks to different people in different ways, and seeking Him looks different for a lot of people. I know, some people will have their devotion every day, where they will be in prayer before the sun comes up for 2 hours, and they're going to read their Bible, and that's the only way that they can function, and that's the only way that they hear from God. And other people, pray more throughout their day, and, might grab one scripture and just meditate on it, and ask God to show them how, that plays out in their life. But I would recommend, if you're just trying to getting started on, finding out what God wants for you in each day, I would just start by being honest with Him and just letting Him know, God, I'm not sure what you want for me, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of my time. I think it always starts with giving Him, a little bit of time, and sit down with the Word and just let Him speak to you, because He does. He's so faithful. He promises that if you seek Him in honesty, that He will be found by you, and He's going to show you in a daily walk how He wants your life to be. And it really is a still, quiet voice that you have to listen for. I would just pray, Lord, to silence yourself and just that you would hear Him. And there's one of my favorite verses in the world is, "Be still and know that I am God." And whenever I'm truly still, which, being a mom of a 9-month-old baby, it is hard sometimes to get still. But when I'm really honest and just still and quiet myself, I always hear Him, and He's always faithful to show up. So I challenge you just to be still and read His Word and listen to what He has to say. He will speak. Yeah.
1 minute, Tim.
Okay. Just to add to that, one of the coolest things that you can discover about your life in Christ and your purpose for your life, a lot of times when we ask that question, we're expecting a big answer and a clear-cut direction of what we're supposed to do. Like if we pray to God, what do you want me to do with my life? Like we almost expect just a clear-cut answer, and it's not always going to look like that. But reading through the scriptures, it really is God's desire for each and every one of His children just to know Him better. And it's going to look different for each person, because like Jamie said, it's different for every person how they pursue that. But if you want to know what God's will for your life is, it's just to fall more and more in love with Him, and everything else, I promise you, He'll take care of it. I mean, it's not always going to sound clear cut, and you might not wake up one day and know exactly what you're meant to be, like I'm going to be a pastor or whatever. But I promise you, if you're intentional about it and you're just open and willing before God, saying, God, I just want to know you, whatever that looks like, there will be times in your life where He will guide you in very specific ways. I can recall times in my life where I've prayed really, really earnestly for a clear direction in my life, and just, earnestly with sincerity, but just didn't hear anything in the way that I wanted to hear. But just the more that you are open with God and really pursue Him, there will be times where He really clearly will speak to you. And I know now that my life and my goal and passion right now is to be a comforter and a healer to other people. And it's not like I woke up one day and just, realized that, and however that's going to look, I still don't know how that's going to look, but He will be faithful enough to speak into your life if you want to.
Thank you, guys. Other questions? Come on, you guys. These are some really creative people. Questions about drugs? Anybody? Yeah, there you go. Are you loud? Oh, hold on. You're not loud.
How does your newfound love for God compare to the high that you experience on a daily basis? And how do you keep yourself from going where you once have been?
Honest answers. Who wants it? All right.
I would say in regards to that, Taylor mentioned it a little bit earlier, but seriously, guys, I don't know how clearly I can portray this to you, but there is nothing like following God and being madly in love with Him. There's nothing that can compare to just the peace and calmness and joy that's found deep within your spirit that you can't experience through anything else. Which sounds weird because, I'm not going to come up and lie and say that, there's nothing appealing about drugs and that the high doesn't feel good at some points, because it does. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But within the highs that we've all experienced and stuff, there's no rest for your spirit. There's no rest for your soul. It's a place of chaos and of pain and hurt, and there really is no eternal joy or rest. You might experience moments of joy and happy feelings, but it never lasts. Like waking up every day and just walking in the truth and being open and honest with God. There's no other feeling like it, and there's no other feeling in the world, in all honesty. And I don't know how clearly I can portray that to you, and I want you guys to understand that so bad, because, I mean, I've been there. I've lived life alone, and don't do it to yourself. That's all I can say.
Just a super quick one. I feel like even in my small experience with drugs of 6 months, I lost a whole lot of purpose. Like when you're in that lifestyle, it's just there's not purpose compared to the life with Christ. I mean, with Christ, you are so filled with a reason to. You just have an inexplicable, joy and purpose to live in, and there's just not. You just don't have that with drugs. Yes, there's the high, but there's an emptiness to it that can't compare.
Yeah, I forgot to share this as part of my story, but it actually answers your question for me anyways. The highest I ever got was when I overdosed. And this is how crazy drugs are. You would think that when somebody overdoses that would be enough to shake them and they'd stop. No, guess what? The next day I was out there doing it again. And from that point, I was always trying to chase after that high. Just crazy. Why would you want to chase after a high that nearly killed you? But that's exactly it. You're constantly chasing after something that is never going to bring you satisfaction. And chasing after Christ brings you satisfaction. And my life, just over the last couple of years, is just immensely changed, seeking after God and seeking after His will. And like Jamie said, just find that quiet moment, and God will speak in that.